Hey Bat fans, Luke here, ready to bat chat about another bat trade, and I'm on a roll, so I figured I'd go ahead and keep going through Legends of the Dark Knight with Legends of the Dark Knight Volume 3, which collects issues 11 through 13. Additionally, it collects Legends of the Dark Knight, the 100-page special. In addition to, it collects Legends of the Dark Knight, the online special, with issues or release numbers, whatever you want to call it, digitally. Kind of not really one of the initiated when it comes to digital comic reading. We have chapters, I guess we'll call it, 30 through 37, as well as 40 to 50, 42 to 50. And in this book, we only have 6 stories within it, but again, when it comes to Legends of the Dark Knight, we have a star-studded amount of creators on this particular volume. We have writers Paul Jenkins, Raphael Albuquerque, he also does some art. Peter Milligan, we should know, a well-known Batman scribe. We have Tim Seeley shows up in this. Dan Mishkin, as well as Jim Zubkovich, if I'm saying that name right. Artists, we have Omar Francia, Raphael Albuquerque, again, obviously. Albuquerque being one of my favorite artists right now. We have Ricardo Burcelli. Freddie E. Williams II, we should know from, if you're a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan, he's currently the artist on that, as well as, if you remember, we've seen from the miniseries Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, at least Volume 2. I can't remember if he did. I think he did Volume 1 too as well. He did, yeah. Did that as well. Tim Mandrake and Neil Googe. And again, kind of keeping with the theme of my videos of Legends of the Dark Knight. I'm not going to go super far in depth because I don't want to spoil it if you haven't read it, because I think, again, this will be a recommend, kind of where on the scale I would put it. We'll get that toward the end. But we'll kind of go through each of the 6 stories we have within. And we'll start off with the first one, which I guess I should really kind of rank these ahead of time. This one was probably the least favorite of mine within this one. Is the first one. It's entitled What Happened Was, which was written by Paul Jenkins and art by Omar Francia. The art was mediocre, but with this story we have, basically comes down to, it's a Batman and Calendar Man story. And Calendar Man basically has everyone in the Gotham Knights Stadium sort of held hostage in a way. And he's basically trying to tell a story about the 4th of July, what it basically comes down to. And there's a big mix-up what's happened with the fireworks. And the bulk of the story is basically getting both sides of the story, from Calendar Man's perspective as well as Batman's. It was, again, it was kind of like my least favorite of the 6, and it was kind of long too. So to be honest, if you're getting Volume 3, you're kind of getting a Debbie Downer story right off the bat. But things do kind of pick up. Actually, it really picks up on the second story, which was, I think, my favorite, and it's one of the shortest. It wasn't very long. And it was one that was written and drawn by Raphael Albuquerque, and it's a story called Adaptation. And what Adaptation is, it's basically set in way forward. We're talking like beyond Dark Knight Returns forward. This is it opens up initially, and it's kind of like Batman chasing the Joker through the carnival, like we saw in Dark Knight Returns, and even the Killing Joke. And basically comes through, and he comes head to head with all his villains. And it turns out it's just a nightmare. And what we have is, again, this goes into set and way in the future. And this is a story of Batman struggling to let go of the Batman moniker when he's really, really old. It's to the point now Gotham City is not totally rid of crime, but definitely not what it used to be. You see Batman, actually, or Bruce, actually trying to think he's saving somebody from getting their purse snatched. It turned out just to be her boyfriend. And basically what it comes down to, again, it's Bruce Wayne trying to, he's struggling to let go of the Batman moniker in a time when Gotham really doesn't need it, but in doing so, he goes a little crazy, and I don't want to, I think I might just spoil that test. Darn it. Anyway, fantastic story, great art. Half of it, there's no words, so you get that, and I think Albuquerque really did a fantastic job in that story. The next one is story entitled Return of Batman, written by Peter Milligan and art by Riccardo Burcelli. And this is basically a Batman versus a Ra's al Ghul story, in that what ultimately happens is Batman is going head to toe with Ra's, and Ra's finds a way to... it's kind of like what we saw in The Dark Knight Rises, where we basically see the fall of Wayne Enterprises. And with the fall of Wayne Enterprises, that means Bruce Wayne doesn't have the funding to have all these cool Bat gadgets. And in doing so, Bruce Wayne has to go back to basics in terms of being Batman. He can't rely on the tech and the gadgets. And in doing so, it's a struggle. And it's an uphill struggle at that, but it's a good story. Again, it's a typical Ra's al Ghul story, in that he's going to, environmental threat, blah, blah, blah. He's going to have, kind of like what we saw in the last Ally and All-Star Batman. He has, or even any Ra's al Ghul story, really, legacy, whatnot. He has this poison, he's trying to unleash it on Gotham, and Batman finds a way to beat him. But it's I don't want to say it's a coming-of-age tale. That might not be right, but it's Batman learning to be Batman again, but getting back to the basics. So I thought it was a really good, interesting theme to kind of stick with. Let's see. Next story we'll kind of touch on real briefly is a story called Unlucky 13, if I can ever get to it. This one written by Tim Seeley with art by Freddie Williams. And great art, I'll say that. And basically what it comes down to, it's a story we kind of seen multiple times before. We've seen this knucklehead goon who Batman thinks down and dirty. Well, I'm sorry, when you get to the ground of it, this is the good person just doing some really stupid things. This person has really bad luck. He ultimately calls himself the 13. Unlucky 13, or just 13, I think he calls himself. It's just, he's got bad luck, so he just kind of, that's his nickname. And it's a story of someone kind of getting in line with the Penguin and be one of his goons trying to get up to the top. But again, bad luck happens. Batman gets him, and then he has something he was trying to use to lure Batman, but it kind of again backfires on him. And I'm not going to go too far in depth in it, but it's a pretty decent story, but one we kind of with a theme we've seen many times before. This one, Without Sin, written by Dan Mishkin with art by Tom Mandrake. This was a really good story. This will probably be my second favorite on this book. And that what we have in this story is that it's a really good, it's a detective story. I mean, lately my favorite Batman stories are ones that it gets to the detective element of him. And this is one that's just a great story. Deals with Batman going against the local mayor with a church, and it incorporates Two-Face in this as well. And Two-Face is played out in a way where, again, it's kind of battling that Harvey Dent versus Two-Face persona, but again, it's done in a way that even Two-Face is kind of seen a little bit in a sympathetic lens in this story, but it's really good. It's a really good story. The art, like right there, you kind of see Batman. You see that kind of way he's kind of portrayed, and it's kind of goofy, but then again, you see some really good art in it as well. So the art in the story is kind of a mixed bag, but it's a really good story. Again, it's detective. It's down to the street level, solving his case. Who's the ultimate? It's a priest that gets murdered. So trying to find out who's the person that actually committed the murder, and it's a nice little twist at the end. And it's a really good story. And it's the longer of every one of these stories in this book. It's actually real long. I think this would actually be the 100-page special or spectacular, but it's a really good story, and it'll engross you, and it's a fun read. Again, it's probably my second favorite one, slightly behind that Raphael Albuquerque story. And the last one, it's called Dr. Quinn's Diagnosis, which is written by Jim Zibkowicz. I messed up that name. I'm just going to have to wait to get to it. Yeah, Jim Zibkowicz with art by Neil Gooch. To be perfectly frank, this one I thought was kind of a throwaway. Not as bad as the first one, but the art, I didn't like the Harley Quinn design. And this is just basically a long confrontation of Harley Quinn going up against Batman, where she lures him with the deal that, hey, I'll tell you where the Joker is if you basically let me, do my Harley Quinn shtick and try to give you a diagnosis on her professional opinion on what it is, blah, blah, blah. But basically, just like anything else, Batman got her fooled. He's just playing her like a little fiddle. And, yeah, the art, just to be honest with you, wasn't big of a fan of it. Of all the art in this particular volume, I think this story has the worst of it. And I don't know, I think I said what happened was the worst story, but now that I kind of reflect on this even more, this might even be the worst one until the very end. So, but either way, it's a kind of a bad bookend where the first and last stories of this book are kind of like the worst ones, but everything in between is really good. But yeah, Volume 3, I think. I mean, those two stories within are kind of It kind of makes this volume of the 3 so far. Yeah, so I'll get through volume 4 and 5. This is the one where I think it kind of loses a little bit of a notch. Where I've been giving the other 2 volumes, I think 4s out of 5. This one I would probably give a 3 out of 5. Other than the art by Albuquerque, as well as I'm just going to stick with the art. The art by Albuquerque and the art by Freddie Williams. The art was kind of a mixed bag in this volume. And again, the stories, other than the 4 out of 6 are actually pretty good. 2 are really fantastic. And even one of them, like I said, half of it was like kind of like silence. So, well, the other ones were getting a 4 out of 5. I would think I would give this one a 3 out of 5, maybe flirting with a 3.5, but just the way this whole thing starts and ends, it's kind of a mixed bag. So, if you're looking at it, I think a 3 out of 5 is about right. And then with the recommendation whether or not to get it, yeah, but again, it kind of comes with those kind of comments I've been saying. So, still fun. I think we still got 2 more volumes, 4 and 5. May or may not get to them this weekend, even though it's a holiday weekend, because I do want to kind of touch some thoughts on, I just got my books, so hit on Detective Comics briefly, and I would like to kind of do a review of Batman Ninja, but we'll see what kind of comes up, and then if I just don't want to go through Ninja right now, I might substitute and go to Volume 4, we'll see. I'm going to have a couple weeks off coming up here really soon, so I'm going to be maybe cranking up some videos, who knows, we'll see. But anyway, yeah, so Batman Legends of the Dark Knight Volume 3, give it a 3 out of 5. Still recommend, but kind of be wary with the first and last stories in it. So, anyway, hit me up in the comments below what you thought about this particular volume, if you read it, or even the single stories. We'll bat chat and go from there. So, until next video, take care.